Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be discussing my new updated 2024 Senate map. 1 month away from election day. I did my presidential map yesterday, so please check that out once you're done watching this video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing my updated Senate map. And before we get started, please subscribe if you're new to this channel, like all my content, put all your comments and suggestions in the section below. I'll try to answer all the questions anyone may have. And please check out other of my content once you're done watching this video. And we are exactly 1 month away from election day. Actually, that was yesterday. So we are 30 days away from election day, which is crazy to think. We are only 30 days away, which is only around 4 weeks, a little bit more than that. And we're going to be filling out this Senate map. As you can see, right from looking at this map, Republicans do have an advantage, going 38 seats to 28 seats. So Democrats will need to defend a lot of states that Donald Trump won. They have incumbents in West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada, all these states, and Montana. So all these states that Donald Trump could and most likely will win, some or most of them, they do have Democratic incumbents. So this is a really a big factor that's going to play, and this is not a midterm, so it's not going to end up like the 2018 midterms when we did not have a presidential name on the ballot. And since we do have a presidential name on the ballot, people are most likely going to vote the same all the way down. Usually we don't have too many split ticket voters anymore, where they vote Republican or Democrat at the top of the ticket and then vote for the opposite party down ballot. So this is going to be very interesting. But let's start with these safe states. And these safe states for Republicans, which are these states that they're going to win by 12 points or more, will include Utah, Wyoming, North Dakota, Nebraska, and the special election. We've had some polling out of the special election that's going to show it being closer, but I do not believe that at all. We have Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi, and our first flip, which is West Virginia. We had the incumbent Joe Manchin retiring. He will not be seeking re-election, so the current governor is running for Senate and is most likely going to win by a pretty huge margin. I'm not sure if they have any polls. Yeah, they had one poll. They have him up by 34, so there's no doubt about that. And that's going to be the first flip on our map. Also, the state of Indiana will be safe for Republicans. Democrats will catch up a little bit with California, Washington, Hawaii, Minnesota. Minnesota will not be safe. It'll be a lot closer on the presidential level, but Amy Klobuchar is running for re-election. She's a very popular candidate. She leads her opponent by almost a safe margin, and I do think she'll end up winning by just over 12 points in this election. We do have Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, and Maine at large, all being safe states. The states of Vermont and Maine are actually independents, Bernie Sanders and Angus King, but they do caucus with Democrats and are projected to win their respective states by 12 points or over on our map. We will now be going to the likely states, and these are the states that are going to go for each candidate by 6 to 12 margins. So not quite safe, but still a pretty high chance of that candidate winning that race. We do have the states of Texas and Florida that are going to fall in that same category. I expect Florida to be a little bit higher, maybe around 7-ish points, while Texas could be lower on that 6-ish point. I do maybe see Texas being in that lean column around 5 points, similar to the polls. The polls right now do have Cruz winning by around 5 points, and they do have Scott winning by around 4 points. But I do expect Donald Trump to win both these states by up to 10 points, which should carry these senators in that likely column. Once again, as I said before, not much ticket splitting, which would lead me into my next state, Montana. This is our second flip, and this would give Republicans the Senate already without even going to any of these other states. They're already at 51 seats, which is why I do inherently believe that Republicans have an over 80% chance of winning the Senate, maybe even a 90% chance of winning the Senate. In Poly Market, they have probably around a 70 to 75% chance, which is pretty crazy. You usually think that the Senate is going to be some close race, and in most years it is close. In 2022 it was very up for grabs, but this time around we have Montana and West Virginia. These are both safe states for Trump. He'll win both by 20 points or over. And if we see the race in Montana, we have the current incumbent Tester, who is losing by 6.7% against Sheehy. Sheehy is at 51%, and I do believe this state will be moving from my original prediction of lean into that likely column at around 6 to 8 points for Tim Sheehy. Moving now to the Democratic states, we have, first of all, the state of New Mexico. I do think this state will stay with Democrats. Heinrich won it by a safe margin last time. I do think he'll be able to pull this off, not by a safe margin because of Kamala Harris is not going to perform that well in the state, but it will still be in the likely column. Same with the states of Virginia and Maryland. In Virginia, this is a pretty contested race now that we do see. It doesn't really show too much in the polls, but a lot of people are really talking about this race being a lot closer than the polls. I do not think Cow is going to win. I do think he's still going to lose in that likely margin, thus me putting it between 6 and 12 points for Kane. And I do think in Maryland, this is one of the most liberal states, but in the polls, we see something a lot different. And that's because of Larry Hogan. And Larry Hogan was the former governor of the state of Maryland, and he is a Republican. He has one of the highest approval ratings for any governor, especially in one of the most liberal states that will vote for Kamala Harris by up to 30 points. But we see here also Brooks is only up by 7.6%. And some of the previous polls have had Hogan up. But as I predicted, the new polls will have also Brooks up. And I do think she will end up winning by a likely margin because there are not many ticket split voters out there. So that's going to have a huge effect on many of these races, despite the popular governor running for the Senate. And this is what we have left. Republicans already have the Senate. So it doesn't really matter how the rest of these states go as long as Republicans can flip Montana. But in the Republicans' lean column, we do have the state of Ohio. I am moving this into the lean column. I do expect Trump to be able to win the state by a safe margin, and that alone would carry Bernie Moreno into that finish line. Right now, we have Brown leading by 3.3 in the polls. The polls have tightened quite a lot, where he was leading by up to double digits back last year and in early this year. But as time went on, and we have received very little amount of polling, but he's only up by 3.3%. He's only at 47%. And I do think this state, being a huge underestimator of Republicans, will end up flipping, and Republicans will end up with 52 seats after they flip the state of Ohio. Democrats will win a few other states in the lean column as well. They will win Arizona and Nevada. I do expect these two states to vote pretty together, and that's mainly because of these very strong polls for Democrats. Unlike the presidential race, where Arizona is favoring Republicans a lot, Donald Trump especially, these polls have tightened a little bit, and then Gallego has expanded his lead. There has not been a single poll where Carrie Lake leads, and I do not think right now that she is going to win. Same thing with Nevada. I do not think that the Republican Brown is going to be able to pull this off. We have Rosen already at almost 50%. And similar to the state of Arizona, he has not led in a single poll that has been tracked on this map right here and on this website, Real Clear Politics. She does lead by a whopping 8.5% in the aggregate. I do not think these two states are going to be so lopsided once again because of those ticket split voters. Donald Trump right now is very favored in Arizona, and Nevada is looking to be a tilt margin race for either side. So I do expect these two races to come down probably around 2 to 4 points for Democrats in the Senate. I do see another state being lean for Democrats. It will be the state of Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, for me, is a state that could be in the tilt column. Right now, I do expect the former president to win the state of Wisconsin. Back in 2018, Tammy Baldwin, who is still running, she is the incumbent. That is a big advantage. She won by a pretty good 11 points, did very well across most of the states. And in the polls that we do have here, it is ranked as a toss-up, but she leads by 3.5%, which is not as large as many of the other states that Democrats lead, especially in Arizona. And this race has tightened significantly over the past couple of weeks, but I still do think Baldwin does have that inherent advantage as well. And now we're going to be going to the final two states. We have the states of Michigan and Pennsylvania, and these two states for me could go either way. But right now, starting with the state of Michigan, I do give it to Slotkin, barely in that tilt column. And this race has really gone a lot closer. It has gone a lot closer in the presidential race, where Harris only leads by 0.7. She was leading by around 2-ish, I believe, a couple weeks ago. And this race over here in the Senate has tightened a lot. And it is only a 3-point race for Slotkin. Rogers is a formidable candidate. And Slotkin's only at 47%, which means an upset is very possible if he gets the majority of those undecided voters. We have Atlas Intel coming out that puts them up by 5. I do not think that that's realistic. We have Trafalgar Group having this race as a tie. So this is a race that I could see that I am a little bit wrong in. This is a race that I could see going either way, but right now I'm still giving it to the Democrats, especially because on the presidential level, it is going to be a very close race. And I expect Democrats in the Senate to outperform Harris in pretty much every state, which would be able to give them that slight win. And then we have our final state, which is the state of Pennsylvania. And this state is the one that has surprised me a lot, because in this state, Casey was able to win in 2012 and 2018 by 12.9 and 9 points. But now where are we on this race? He only leads by 4. And he's not even at 49%. And what this tells me, this race is a lot closer than we originally intended. You know, back in the day, especially when Biden was still in the race, we were thinking, okay, this is a 8-point race, 5-point race, 6 points, even 7 at some points at the end of August. But as September and October have come, we have seen polls a lot closer. And Casey only leads by 4 points now, which is outperforming Harris by 4 points according to the polls that we do have. And despite McCormick probably coming within that till margin, I would still give this race barely to the incumbent senator. Once again, as we all know, the incumbency factor does play a role. He was able to win in 2018, and so were a lot of these Democrats in the Rust Belt able to win by such huge margins, and that's just not going to happen this time. They're going to win by a lot smaller margins, and it is possible to have an upset in Michigan and Pennsylvania, but we'll just have to see. But that's going to be my prediction for this video. Republicans at 52 seats, Democrats at 48. Best case for Republicans probably puts them around 54 to 55. 56 would really be pushing it, but right now I do see 52 as the average. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please subscribe, like all my content, share all your comment suggestions in the section below, and please check out my other content. I will check you guys out in the next one.